What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
In the arms of the angel, fly away.
Hey everybody, and we're back. One Piece, chapter 1120 is out. But it's been a few chapters since the last dedicated review. Apologies for that. I have been very busy, very focused on a very particular job. I think you'll forgive me. Anyway, today we're going to do something we've never done before, which is recap, discuss, and build upon the last 4 chapters. I'll start with 1120 and then share all of my thoughts that would have been in prior reviews, and we'll speed run back up to 1120 from 1117. But first off, there's one thing that is yet to be topped in these past 4 chapters, and it is something that we do need to discuss. The Demon of East Blue, Gin, has returned. The man made it to the New World with Don Fabio Krieg. Incredible. But if there were any East Blue villains that could do it, it's them. They easily gave the crew some of their hardest early fights, and Gin has remained a top 10, top 15 character for me, even despite his lack of appearing in the past 25 years. Where's Gin was one of the longest running memes in the community and spanned a multitude of theories over the last quarter century, but leave it to Oda to sneak him in the corner of a panel. I would not be surprised if he hit Krieg with the
"Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now."
It would be fun if we ever side quest to Hachinosu to have a reunion or even a rematch between Sanji and Gin. Or, considering that Gin is carrying a sword around instead of his tonfas, maybe it's time for Gin to give Zoro the business. Has he been training these past 2 years to get revenge on Mihawk? Is Gin going to be Zoro's final opponent? Gin beats Mihawk and then Zoro has to fight Gin for the title? Oda would be the biggest troll for that, but I'd love to see a rematch between Sanji and Gin. Especially if Gin is actually a mercenary under Blackbeard. There are some real opportunities here. But let's get into everything. "1120 is our first full chapter since 1113. Every other chapter since has been 13 to 15 pages long, and Oda really came in swinging with the 18 to 19 pages of glory this week, starting off with a Clover flashback, 4 years before the Ohara incident. Those 4 years really aged this man. Like he did a term as an American president. He pleads for Vegapunk to join him, much like Dragon wanted to, but Vegapunk denies. It is implied in the text that these two, Clover and Vegapunk, have met before, but this is clearly the first time that Clover is opening up to Vegapunk, talking about his brother. He reveals his secret name as Cloud D. Clover, going along with the Gold D. Roger of it all. Now, it's just Cloud, with the D separated. However, some translations are saying that it could be the Gaelic word cleave, referencing a sword of light. That's a more interesting take, and given the Irish connection to Clover, I like that. I like either one, but the official says Cloud, so I'm going to go with that for the time being. I just love getting full names. But some people are perturbed. They are mad that we got another D in the story.
And another one.
And at this point, guys, give it up. Okay, I'm sorry. This is the Chosen One story that you don't want it to be. And unfortunately, all of the stereotypes that you're worried about that you've seen in other stories, they're going to play out here. Oda's just going to do it better. And if he finished the story 10 years ago, you'd be saying those other animes and stories copied Oda. But anyway, the D are the enemy of the gods. Clover was actively working against the gods, so why wouldn't he be a D? It's the same reasoning that I've been saying Robin is secretly a D as well, and I'll stay drinking the Monkey D. Robin Kool-Aid until Oda reveals Robin's archaeologist father. It doesn't have to be Dragon, it could be. It makes sense for it to be, but it could be a secret monkey family member that we haven't met yet, who died just like Clover's brother did. The reason that Dragon is so wanted has to be because he knows too much about the history. The timelines are curious. This meeting between Clover and Vegapunk happens a year before, within a year of Roger finding the One Piece and Dragon becoming a wanted man. I still believe, very much so, that Clover could be Dragon Shanks, his mentor, the guy he looked up to, which is why he shows up to Ohara with flowers to pay respect specifically to Clover. But that still doesn't rule out that Dragon couldn't have had a secret tryst with Olvia. They're the same age, which could have led to Robin, making Robin and Luffy half-siblings. And given that the recent SBS finally revealed the hidden Empress in between Shaki and Hancock as Toritoma, we now have a name and a photo for my suspected mother of Luffy. In the SBS, Oda also reveals that Kuma can only send you places that he himself has been, meaning Kuma has been to the Island of Women, where men are not allowed. How or why would he be there if not with Dragon and the Revolutionary Army for something potentially relevant to Luffy, leading Kuma to subconsciously or consciously send Luffy there during the archipelago? Whether people like this line of thinking or not, the evidence supports me until Oda contradicts the thoughts. Toritoma, very likely, could be Luffy's mother, and I still think it is very interesting that Dragon, who is so associated with wind, could have fallen in love on an island without wind. For more on all of that, go watch the Luffy's lineage video, because I go way more in depth, but then this SBS just doubles down on a lot of the stuff we talked about there, and who knows, we'll see if we're right eventually. Or wrong, it doesn't matter. Anyway, following the 26 years ago section with Clover, we traveled 22 years to when Vegapunk was still working with Caesar. After that, we go to Ohara. And this moment with Vegapunk appears to be before everything we see in chapter 1066, because we can't see the giants. So it is likely that Vegapunk had this quiet moment of reflection, he cried, then noticed the giants, and was interrupted by Dragon going into the rest of 1066 just to piece the timeline together. After these flashbacks, Oda takes us back to Egghead, shows us Lilith being smart, and showing her usefulness as a potential crewmate or ally in future arcs. She could be the logical one on the ship, preventing them from doing something too stupid or reckless. I'm not saying she joins, but Vivi, Bonnie, and Lilith are all in the conversation right now. Atlas swoops in, attacks Lilith, which was crazy at first, but that's Oda and his dramatic sacrifices for you. Atlas not only needed to knock Lilith out, she needed to destroy the transmitter connecting Lilith to York. The plan works because York buys the bait and assumes and reports that Lilith is taken out. Atlas pushes the rest to shove off, and she submits a glowing application to join not only the One Arm Club, but also the Pedro and Ashura Doji Club. Savage. R.I.P.
In the arms of the angel, fly away from here.
From there, we could have burst onto the sea and land on the water right where we need to, thanks to Atlas's sacrifice. Another sacrifice starts to take place, which will likely finish up next week with 1121, where Emmett is ready to use the unspecified magical ancient tech that will allow our heroes to escape, allegedly. I would still like to have an archipelago level moment before the end of this that has ramifications for our crew and not just side characters, but the dangers aren't over, as Saturn has arrived on the boat as well, giving Kuma the opportunity to also sacrifice himself for the cause. Although I am still Team Kuma is already dying, because Saturn likely injected a life-threatening venom into him when Kuma first arrived. Either way, he's going down, and it's happening soon. I still want the Viking funeral, which would require Kuma's body to remain on the ship, though. Moving back to 1117, Oda took the time to show that Kobe and the rest of Sword are starting to question their leadership even more than they already were after listening to Vegapunk's message. The train is moving, and we finally see BBL Drizzy again, recovering at GS Hospital. I don't know why so many people thought he died in Wano. It seemed clear he survived, but this man has been recovering for weeks at this point, so Dripper Guernica Scarfino really gave him the business. Smoker also made an appearance, which is something we've desperately been waiting for, and we'll need clarification on what he's dragging along the ocean. Some said it's Garp in an ice cube, but if Oda really off-screened Smoker at Hachinosu, I'd lose it. Zoro clashed with Ethan, and the word bubble read Kitetsu. Now, I read this as a double bubble, where they're both saying it at the same time. The anime will have to clarify, but I think this is Ethan recognizing the Sandai Kitetsu and Zoro recognizing what could very well be the famed Shodai Kitetsu. Vegapunk gets ready to spill the tea on all of the D, but Emmett, the Iron Giant, shorts out for a bit. We got to see Koza and Alabasta in the first canonic image that isn't a cover page of Mr. 9, Miss Monday, and their baby. Love to see it. Leo starts doubting Luffy again, which has been a running gag ever since Dressrosa. We also saw this happen during the Reverie. This all has to become a plot point at some point. Either Leo squards Luffy on the final war, or someone tries to turn him into a squard against Luffy, and he has a Dressrosa Usopp moment where he stands against his gullible proclivities to shout that Luffy is a trustworthy man. York starts the countdown for the remaining Vegapunks in 11:18, which obviously comes to a head in 11:20. Bonnie low-diffed Doll and Bluegrass and was convinced by Luffy to become the most free version of herself. She went Nika. It was not a Nika-like, Nika-ish future. She just said, give me a future where I am the most free. And she became Nika. This was called an imitation. But I do not believe that this is an imitation. I think that what everybody has in their mind are limitations. And that this is something that could be achieved by many people in the series. Now, I may not have done a dedicated review for 11:18 or 11:19, but I did do a dedicated video on what this all means. The community response, why I like this, and why we will see others go Nika as well, and how we kind of have already seen it. That video will be linked below because I don't want to repeat myself too much, but essentially this is Luffy's power to inspire. It's the meaning of the story. If you think it, you can do it. The Willie Gallen quote from 218. This is the start of a new day for the story that links us back to the Sulong and Tamate pills. Things are coming together. In 11:19, Kaku and Stussy silently cut the tension of their palpable off-screen affair, and I just want them to be happy. Zoro told Kaku to basically go and start a zoo at the end of Eni's lobby, and that's what I want for them. Nika Luffy and Nika Bonnie fight the Gorosei, and Oda reveals definitively that Bonnie knows armament hockey, which is wild for a 12-year-old. Is this the youngest armament hockey user in the series? Because I think so. Isa could use observation and was younger. But this has to be the youngest armament display. Some were trying to tell me that Frankie has hockey, but that is very unconfirmed for me. And even though I am a Frankie stan, I can't let the agenda go as far as they shot Mars. Frankie doesn't have hockey until we actually see a shot of his fist with, all colored in black. Emmett starts to wake up and rise from the water as the message comes back in, and it is likely but unconfirmed if it started a little bit later from where it left off at 11:17, meaning we may have missed important details about the Will of D. We see Katakuri for the first time outside of the cover story, flanked by Charlotte Moscato and Charlotte Brownie, and this man is just chilling on Ice Cream Cone Island in Tataland. Whether his mom is dead or not, his sister got kidnapped on his watch, and this man is chilling. I got 38 other sisters, I'm good. Katakuri fans are in the mud. This man is making no effort, no moves. We should have had this man on his way to Elbaf or somewhere to intercept Marshall D. Teach. Oda gave us 2 panels of Kat to really sell how much of a bum he's being right now. Oh, he needs to defend Whole Cake. He should be fired. Love him, but I haven't seen this man catch a W yet. Luffy escaped. The Straw Hats escaped. Germa escaped. Caesar escaped. The Blackbeard Pirates escaped with Pudding. Cat's not looking good. He is down.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Anyway, Gaimon and his lovely barrel girl Sarfunkel make a canon appearance, which is amazing. If you've never put it together, that's a Simon and Garfunkel joke from Oda. Jupiter and Topman pull up on the ocean. Unconfirmed if they are using Geppo or if they swam. But either way, brings a lot more questions than answers. Much like Bonnie turning it to Nika because nobody told her that she couldn't, I wonder if Devil Fruit users drown in the water because of mental propaganda. And it could potentially be a situation in DC where the second Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, got his ring and didn't know that he was weak to the color yellow, so it didn't have the same effect on him at first. Green Lantern's ring is basically hockey, it's willpower, so there should be similarities. And yeah, if you didn't know, Green Lantern's weakness is the color yellow. It's silly, it's stupid. It is what it is. Anyway, it would be crazy if 1,100 plus chapters go by and then we learn, oh yeah, you could swim this whole time. You just have to believe you can swim or know the drowning thing is a lie. Don't give power to things that could hurt you. Jupiter shoots a ton of Cypher Pole agents and the Seraphim onto the Giant's boat, which is completely unaddressed in 1120. But we got our first taste of a Void Century flashback and the words of Joy Boy calling out to Emmett, the ancient robot, telling him to only use it when the time is right. Emphasis on time, which as a Back to the Future fan, my ears perk up because the time-traveling Doc Brown's first name is Emmett. Oda is most certainly a fan as well. There are other lores and myths revolving around golems named Emmett and the like, but knowing Oda, Back to the Future is a big factor here too. All in all, this is a solid string of chapters, and honestly, the least interesting part of these chapters has been the Vegapunk message. I simultaneously hope we get more. I feel like it's implied that the next chapter should finish the message out, and I'm hoping that it's like this big, grandiose thing that we end on, because if this is the end, I don't know how I'm going to feel. At this point, it's been a lot of yapping. And if Oda is just going to keep stalling, let's just move on and get closer to the point where Robin gives us her unbiased account. We and the people of the world now know that there was a flood, the sea level used to be 200 meters lower, and the world will continue to sink as we know it unless we do something. He revealed the existence of ancient weapons to the world. That Gold Roger was a D. He tried to explain the D, but failed. He told us that Joy Boy was the first pirate, and that he fought against the 20 kings, which became the world government. A lot of this we knew or hypothesized, but now the world knows it as well, leading to the critical thinking on display in 1117's sword scene with Kobe and the rest. I still feel like the message was missing something and was too much tell and not enough show. For instance, knowing that Joy Boy was the first pirate. That could have been achieved with a Void Century flashback. We're introduced to Joy Boy, and at some point he's called a pirate. It's not a term that he's familiar with, it's not a term that he calls himself, but it's something that is thrust upon him, kind of like Roger being called the Pirate King. Not something that he called himself, but propaganda that was put onto him. That's the kind of storytelling that I more expect from Oda, and just being told these things. Like, I think it would be way more dramatic if we saw the floods, rather than being told, hey, there was a flood. Like I said, it's a lot of things that a lot of people have put together, going all the way back to Fishman Island, being introduced to the Noah, being introduced to Old Wano. We've been talking about floods for a really long time in the community, so these are aspects that are not necessarily new to a lot of readers, but are new ideas to the characters in the world. So that's what this is for. But even then, I still want to see these things, and when we do eventually see them, I feel like their impact will be mitigated because of how much we were told. I could go into, other aspects of this and how this relates, but I think the people that will be upset with me even criticizing this at all are not going to really change their mind if I continue with more examples. Hopefully, Vegapunk just gives us a great showing in 1121. But either way, if he doesn't, it's just more for Robin to do later. And I'm okay with that. And that's going to wrap this one up, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for supporting me. And since I've been so busy, we're back in algorithm jail. So if you've stayed to the end and you like this content, please leave a like and comment to get us back into the good graces of the computerized overlords. Let them know you like this and that others might too. Comment anything or just hashtag RIP Atlas. See you guys for 1121. Take care. Like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe.
swimming deep, deep. Savage.